Hi, we're going to do about a 30-minute full Pilates workout. Go ahead and just find a mat. That's all you're going to need for this workout. No extra props, no additional items. Just make sure you're on a nice comfortable surface, and a little extra cushion will be helpful just for your own comfort, but if you want to do it on carpet, that's fine too. Go ahead and get started. Start sitting up nice and tall. And before you roll back, just take note of your posture and your position here. If you take a look, think about your second toe, second from the big toe. From the second toe to the middle of the ankle, to the middle of the kneecap, to the top of the pelvis, those bony hip points you can feel if you put your two fingers right at the top of the pelvis, is all in a straight line. Between your knees should be about a wide fist distance, and keeping that straight line, you're going to take your hands behind your thighs, inhale here. With your chin just about level, inhale, and as you exhale, let's roll back. You're going to draw your belly button down towards the spine, and almost imagine that there's a string pulling the belly button as you tuck the pelvis, so really driving the belly button down towards the spine. You're holding on behind your thighs just for a little extra support so that you can slowly roll down all the way. Let your head come down onto the mat, your hands are at your sides. And now pulling your feet in a little bit closer to your sit bones, those bony parts at the bottom of your pelvis. Take an inhale here and exhale. Just a couple more breaths. Start to relax into the mat. And as you're breathing, take notice of your spine, where the length of your spine naturally meets the mat. Take another breath in and exhale. This time we're going to change the breath pattern, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through the mouth. Another deep breath in and long exhalation through the mouth. Keep breathing as we bring some attention to the different parts of the body. So you're still breathing in through the nose, this time holding the breath, and see if you can press your spine down and then expand your lungs laterally out to the sides before exhaling fully. Take another deep breath in through the nose, and now exhaling. Letting the rib cage expand laterally, and exhale. Another inhale and exhale. You can put your hands on the sides of the ribs as you breathe to really emphasize that you're trying to move the lungs, really use the full depth of your lungs as you inhale and exhale. We're going to start to engage the lower abdominals this time on the exhalation. Again, breathing in through your nose. And now as you exhale, think about dropping the belly button down towards the spine, engaging the lower abdominals. Inhaling again. And a nice long exhalation, trying to draw the belly button down towards the spine one more time. And a nice long exhalation, drawing the belly button. Think about your pubic bone and your belly button coming closer together as you engage the lower abdominals, holding that engagement. You can keep your hands at your sides, or you can bring your two fingers onto the top of the pelvis, those hip points. Keeping your fingers on the top of the pelvis. You're going to inhale here. And as you exhale, imprint the spine. Press the spine down into the mat. And then as you inhale, just relax and let the pelvis come back. As you'll notice, there's a slight curve. That lower lumbar spine has about a half an inch, almost like a little mouse hole underneath. You're inhaling, it's called a neutral spine. And as you exhale, imprint the spine. Press the spine down. Come back to neutral. You're going to keep breathing in this way. Inhaling in neutral, exhaling to imprint. But as you breathe, inhale in neutral, think about exhaling, driving the belly button down towards the pubic bone up towards the belly button, engaging the lower abdominals. And now start to take notice of what's moving and what's not moving. You're rocking the pelvis over the thigh bones. Everything else is pretty much staying still. You're staying fixed in space. The shoulders are down and away from the ears. The collarbones in the front of the chest are relaxed and open. Just rocking the pelvis. One more breath. Pressing the spine down with the exhalation. and then coming back to neutral. In this neutral position, this is an optimal position for your spine, and we're learning to control get our posture with the control of the abdominals. If you find you can't hold this neutral position, or you're engaging the lower back, you want to go ahead and go into that imprinted spine. In the imprinted spine, you might have a little bit of an easier time engaging the lower abdominals, and that's fine. Whatever lets you engage the lower abdominals first is where you want to be. Your goal is to be able to engage the lower abdominals and keep that neutral spine. But the most important is that you're not engaging the low back. So wherever you feel supported, again, dropping the belly button down towards the spine, keep your hands at your sides, inhale. As you exhale, you're going to slowly unweight the right foot. Just let it hover over the mat here. Again, thinking about your pelvis is staying level as you pull the knee up and bring your leg into a tabletop position. That tabletop position is trying to make about a right angle out of your leg, holding here. Again, those two fingers can be right on top of the pelvis. And now you're just going to stir the thigh bone. It's a tiny little circle. Imagine that there's a sharpened pencil point on your kneecap. Just making about probably like a quarter-size circle. Pause here, reverse it. Tiny little movement, really focusing on keeping the pelvis from rocking. You've got to engage the lower abdominals to do that. Hold here. Slowly let the right foot come down onto the mat. Find your form, get the stillness of the pelvis, and then using your lower abdominals to stabilize the pelvis, unweight the left foot, and then pull that leg up into a tabletop position. Again, tabletop is making that right angle out of your leg so that your shin is parallel to the floor. And now stir the thigh bone. You're just taking that imaginary sharpened pencil point on your kneecap and making a little tiny circle. It's like no bigger than a 2-inch diameter. You're just stirring the thigh bone in the hip socket. Pause and reverse. What we're trying to get here is an opening of the joint by letting the femur bone, the heaviest bone in your body, as it circles, it's dropping more deeply into the hip socket. Creates a stronger connection, which means more mobility and more lubricated joint. Pause here. Holding that left leg in tabletop. Again, your hands can be down at your sides, or you can keep your hands on the hip points to stabilize. Inhale. As you exhale, pull that right leg up. Your knees are together, your ankles are together, both legs are lifted in a tabletop position. Holding here for a second, again, take notice of your spine. If you're holding neutral using the abdominals, fantastic. Keep going with that. If you notice that you're starting to feel a little strain in the upper back, go ahead and press the spine down, feeling the lower abdominals engage as you do that. You don't want any strain in the low back. If holding this position strains the low back, you're just going to let the heels drop down towards your sit bone. So whatever feels most comfortable to you. Inhale here. As you exhale, nod your chin towards your chest. You're lifting your head and neck up off the mat. As you slowly curl up, you're dropping the belly button down towards the spine, scooping out the belly as you lift your shoulders up off. The tips of the shoulders are just barely touching the mat. Inhaling here, and as you exhale, start to pump the arms. We're going right into the hundreds. This is a breath pattern. You're breathing in for 5, and a long exhalation for 5. Inhale, and exhale. Always inhaling, using the breath, and then exhaling, drawing the belly button down towards the spine, really getting that deep engagement. If this is all working for you, you can extend the legs up towards the ceiling, maybe even drop them down towards the floor. If you find you have any neck strain, you can put your hand behind your head. And if you still have any neck strain, if you feel like you're starting to fail, bring your knees in closer. Drop your heels down towards your sit bones, maybe even pull the knees all the way in. Whatever puts you in the most supportive position and lets you use the breath. 2 more breaths. Inhale and exhale. Last breath. Inhale, exhale, Nicely done. Pull your knees in, let your head come down. Just take a couple breaths here, maybe rocking, doing a little knee circle, rocking around the sacrum, that triangular bone at the base of the spine. Reverse your circles. Pull the knees in towards the chest, and now roll up to a seated position. Sitting up nice and straight and tall, we're going to go right into the roll. It's called rolling like a ball, and you're trying to get yourself as tight as possible. The goal of this exercise is to get the back of the calves glued to the back of the thigh and the front of the thigh glued to the chest. Your elbows are wide and soft. Your gaze is to the hip crease, so really looking down low towards your belly button, scooping out the belly, holding here. Inhale. As you exhale, tuck your pelvis. So really think about you're rocking the pelvis onto the tip of the sacrum. Find that point where you feel like you might roll back, but you don't. This is engaging the lower abdominals. From here, you're going to initiate the roll down, rolling back and coming back up. Reset. Inhale, exhale to roll, and then scooping to come back up. Let's do a couple more. You're tilting the pelvis to initiate the roll, trying to stay as tight as possible. 2 more. Sometimes you find that the legs kind of fly out. This is a goal, trying to get as tight as possible. Last one. Come all the way up, holding yourself here, hug yourself tight, let the feet come down, and now send your hips back. Awesome. Sitting up nice and straight and tall, we're going to go right into the roll down. Your arms are straight out in front of you. Inhaling here. Again, take note of your form. And when you're sitting here straight and tall, I'm going to turn towards you for a minute. You want to think about the bottom of the pelvis, making connection with the mat. You can even sort of move the flesh out of the way so that you can really feel the sit bones pressing into the mat. Your feet are flexed, and as your arms float out in front of you, pull the shoulders down. Really imagine that the scapula, the shoulder blade here in the back, is suctioned against the rib cage so that you're getting that nice, firm, supported scapula, holding the shoulders in place. Sitting here tall, inhale. As you exhale, again, we're initiating with a tuck of the pelvis. So you round through the low back. A lot of times you kind of want to round through the shoulders and the upper body. That's going to come later. We're initiating by drawing the belly button down and just rolling down, tucking the pelvis, try to land the sacrum, keep opening up to the collarbones, try to draw the shoulders away from the ears. When the shoulder blades hit, the head comes down, arms go behind you. Inhale, the arms come up, exhale, the shoulders come down, now chin to chest, and now slowly peeling the spine, scooping out the belly. Kind of imagine that ice cream scoop, carving out your lower abdominals. Let's restack and do that again. Inhale, exhale, tucking the pelvis. Again, you really want to feel that scoop, as if somebody's pulling with a string, the belly button coming down towards the floor. Keep those collarbones open, shoulders down and away from the ears. Shoulder blades hit, arms go behind you. Inhale, the arms up. Exhale, shoulders plug down first, now chin to chest, and now peeling, scooping out the belly, flexing the feet. Kind of want to imagine that your heels are being dragged down on the floor. One more time. Rolling down. Keep those shoulders. The shoulders always want to creep up towards the ears. You want to draw them down and away from the ears. Collarbones are open. Shoulders plug down as you exhale. Now chin to chest. Using the breath, you scoop out and restack. Inhale here. We're going to roll back again and stay down. So this time, again, initiating with the pelvis, rolling down. Feel each lower vertebra rolling all the way down. And now let your hands come to the sides. Pull the right knee in. Give yourself a little hug there. Nice stretch. Extend the right leg up towards the ceiling. Let's take a little stretch here. You can inch your hands up towards the calf, or maybe hold behind the thigh, whatever works for you. Let's just do a little hamstring stretch here. Pulling that leg in gently, maybe pointing and flexing. I find we all need a good hamstring stretch. Hold your flex. And now release the hands, keep your foot where it is, pointing the toes. We're gonna go right into the one leg circle. Cross the right leg across the midline of the body, and now circle the leg down and lifting up. Emphasizing the cross, you're making a backwards capital D. Cross, circle, and bring the leg straight back up. Let's do 3 more in this direction. You can take those 2 fingers and put them on the top of the pelvis if that helps you remember to not lift the hip. A lot of times we want to make this a big exaggerated swing with the hip sort of twisting around and making it a big swing. Really not what we're trying to achieve here. We're trying to achieve a nice controlled motion. Let's reverse that. Leg comes straight down, cross at the ankles, and then circle it up. Good. Cross, circle up, straight down. 3 more. Crossing at the ankle, circling up, trying to stabilize the pelvis. Shoulders are down away from the ears, collarbones open, the upper body's relaxed. Last one, holding at the top. Bring your left leg up, let your right leg come down. Again, let's get a little bit of a hamstring stretch here. You can hold behind the thigh, or if you can get a bigger stretch, you can hold behind the calf, whatever works for you. Just a gentle pull to deepen that stretch, and now pointing and flexing from here. Your head should be down. Really just trying to emphasize the stretch. Maybe a couple ankle circles. Reverse them. And now holding the flex to keep your leg in the same position, releasing the hands. Pointing the left toes, crossing that straight leg across the midline of the body, circling down and lifting up. Cross, circle, lift up. So again, we're making that capital letter D. You can take the 2 fingers on the hip bones as a reminder to keep the hips still. So your lower abdominals have a job here. They're stabilizing the pelvis as you rotate the femur bone in the socket of the hip. Pause and reverse. Straight leg comes down, cross at the ankle, circle up. Down, cross, circle up. Keep using the breath. 2 more. And bend that knee. We didn't do that little stretch. Let's just give it a little hug, extra little stretch. Keep it even. And legs come down. Bend both knees. You're going to pull both knees in and then send your legs straight up towards the ceiling. With your hands at the sides, take your right ankle and cross it in front of the left. From here, we're going to do what's called a prep, a rollover prep, but it's really a fantastic exercise on its own. Imagine that you have a rope around your 2 ankles and you're lifting your pelvis straight into the air. So there's a lot of temptation to kind of throw the legs and turn it into this. We're really trying to just go as straight up as possible. And you can have your hands down at your sides to give you a little extra support. It's not a big movement, but you should feel an intense engagement of the lower abdominals. You might feel a little stretch in the legs too. Let's uncross and then recross with the left ankles in front and keep lifting. Good. Using the breath. It is a deceptively challenging exercise. It doesn't look like much, but having that control can be really challenging. Let's do 2 more. Awesome. And pull the knees in. Maybe just a couple knee circles. Using the breath, just a couple in each direction. And feet come down. So get yourself resituated. Again, thinking about that alignment. Second toe, middle of the ankle, middle of the kneecap, to the top of the hip points. And I always say, just put your 2 fingers there as a reminder of where the middle of the hips are. We sometimes think about the hips as being the wider point on the outside of the body. When we're talking about the hips in this class, we're really talking about the top of the pelvis and getting that alignment so there's about a fist distance between the knees and everything is in 2 perfect parallel lines. Take a couple breaths here and just take notice of how you're feeling. And also take notice if you've had any gripping in the hip flexors. That's this point right here where the thigh meets the hip joint. If you find you grip or sort of seize up in the hips, a couple things you can do there. One is release some of that tension. So bringing the legs in closer to the body, letting the heels come down towards the sit bones depending on the exercise. Bending the knees slightly can really give some relief to those hip flexors. It's also an indication of a need to strengthen the engagement of the lower abdominals. So when you can, think about the belly button to the pubic bone, that distance getting shorter, and the belly button dropping down towards the spine. It's a good way to engage the lower abdominals. It will help relieve some of that tension. So it's just something to think about. Let's go back to that position. Your knees are bent. Your heels are about 12 to 18 inches from your sit bones. Arms are at your side. We're going into a bridge. So inhale here. As you exhale, you're going to press the spine down. That's that imprinted spine. When you imprint the spine, your tailbone lifts ever so slightly. Inhale here. And now as you exhale, start to lift your hips up, thinking each vertebra of the spine is lifting individually. You're coming up to your bridge, each vertebra lifting individually, just to the point where your shoulders are down on the mat. So Pilates Bridge is a little bit different than a yoga bridge. Sometimes we're sort of up here in yoga and you're arching the back and you're kind of up on towards the top of the shoulders or even onto the neck. With a Pilates Bridge, you really want to get the shoulder blades sectioned to the back of the ribs and then the top of the shoulders down to just about mid to the lower shoulder blade is down on the mat. So you have that nice supported position. Inhale here. And now as you exhale, let's reverse that movement. Still trying to keep the shoulders down and away from the ears, articulating the spine. Awesome. Inhale back to a neutral spine, that soft curve in the lower lumbar spine. Exhale to imprint, and now curl the spine. Lifting up into your bridge. Let's do that one more time. Inhale at the top, and exhale, articulating down. Back to your neutral to inhale, exhale to imprint, and coming back up to your bridge and holding. In this position, you can take a quick look, check your pelvis. Your pelvis should be level, as if you put a rod between those 2 hip points, that rod would be parallel to the floor. Thinking about keeping a stable pelvis. You're with a hinge motion. You're going to drop the hips down, just tapping the sacrum, that triangular bone at the base of the spine, and then lifting up. Hinging down, hinging back up. It's a smooth, simple motion. Still trying to keep the ribs knitted. Good. Focusing on stability of the pelvis, keeping those 2 perfect points in a straight line. Last one, this time we're going to lift and hold. Holding here. So you might start to feel the hamstrings a little bit, maybe the glutes a little bit too. Whatever you're feeling, try to engage the lower abdominals. If this is feeling pretty secure, let's try to challenge that stability. The bridge is all about the stability of the pelvis. So if at any point you find your pelvis is dropping to one side, come back to the movement you had before or the stability of a hold. Let's see if we can add some movement here. So you're going to slowly press down into the left foot, as you lift the right leg into a tabletop position. Now check your pelvis again. Usually when you unweight, sometimes it falls down. So let's just correct that. Get the pelvis level here. If you can hold this without having any challenge, let's go add the movement. We're going to tap the sacrum down and lift it up. If you find that you're starting to drop down on the right side a little bit, then just keep holding. Whatever works for you to keep the level pelvis. It's all about stability of the pelvis. If this is working for you, keep going. We're going to do 2 more. Again, come back to your hold. If you find that you're tired or you need to take a break, you can let the foot come down and just hold yourself in the lift. If you're still hanging on with me, I'm going to add 1 more movement. You're going to extend that leg up towards the ceiling, still keeping your hips lifted. Sending the leg down and lifting it up. Awesome. Just a lower and a lift. Trying to keep the pelvis perfectly level. You got to use the lower abdominals. You're going to feel the glutes for sure. 2 more. Hold. Bend that knee. 2 feet are down. And now let's articulate down. Awesome. Pull the knees in. Let's give ourselves a break here. Just a little release. And let's go to the other side. Both legs come down. Again, thinking about that alignment, second toe, middle of the ankle, middle of the kneecap to the front of the pelvis. Those top 2 hip points are making 2 perfect straight lines. Hands are at your sides. Inhale in a neutral. As you exhale, imprint the spine. The tailbone lifts. And now articulating up. Just going to the point where your shoulders are still down on the mat. You have a nice straight line from the knees to the hip to the shoulder. Your pelvis is level. Holding your level pelvis, we're going to go right into the lifting on the other side. So pressing down into your right foot, slowly lift that left leg into tabletop. Check your pelvis again. If you can hold this, we're going to add a movement. If you find you're struggling just to hold, then stay with the hold. Always trying to find the stability before you add the movement. If you're okay and staying stable, we're going to add that tap of the sacrum. Just tapping down and lifting up. Keep breathing. Sometimes people ask me, should I be inhaling or exhaling on exertion? The good rule of thumb is exhale on exertion, but I usually just say just keep breathing. The breath will help you. Let's do 1 more. And come back to that hold. Again, if this is all working for you, we're going to add a challenge. If you find you're starting to drop down to one side, see if you can hold, or maybe you can go back to 2 feet and hold there. It's about stability of the pelvis, trying to keep it level and not moving. If you're ready for the challenge, you're going to add the left leg extension up and then lower down. Just lifting and lowering. That movement of the femur bone is adding the challenge to keeping the pelvis stable. So watch the pelvis, make sure you're adjusting to keep the pelvis level. Let's do 2 more. And hold. Foot comes down, find your form, articulating, and pull the knees into the chest. Nicely done. Let's roll up to a seated position. We're going to go right into the abdominal series. Extending the left leg out in front of you, right knee is bent. Pull the right knee in towards your chest. Take your right hand onto the right ankle, the left hand just below the kneecap. Pressing your chest into your thigh to get as straight and tall as possible. Imagine that somebody's pulling from the crown of your head, the top of your head, the top of your skull, lifting you up taller so you're straight and tall. Lift that left leg up, inhale. As you exhale, we're going to tuck the pelvis. Again, so you're initiating with the lower part of your spine and rolling back with control, head, neck, and shoulders staying lifted. And now switching the hands as you switch the legs. It's the single leg stretch. You're scooping out the abdominals. You're supporting your head, neck, and shoulders with your strong abdominals. If you find that your neck is tired, you can bring one hand to help support. You could bring two hands. You could even bring your head down. Whatever allows you to do the exercise and feel the engagement of the lower abdominals. Let's do one more set. Both legs come in. Again, ideally, keeping your head, neck, and shoulders lifted the whole time. Inhale. As you exhale, extend the arms as you extend the legs. Sweep the arms around and then hug the knees in. Everything extends. Sweep the arms around and pull. Reach and pull. A couple more here. Good. Again, you can bring your hands behind your head and just do the legs. Keep pulling the belly in. Last two. Good. Pulling in. Again, if you can keep your head, neck, and shoulders lifted, that's great. If you need to come down, that's okay too. Send your right leg up. Extend the left leg out. You're holding behind the calf or behind the thigh. Whatever works and puts you in a strong supportive position. Let's scissor the legs. Catching behind the leg. A little catch and pull. Catch and pull. Using the breath. Good. The elbows are soft. It's a nice little catch and pull, a little extra stretch. Last set. Both legs come up. Hands come behind the head. Elbows are wide. Squeezing the heels together. Squeezing the calves. Squeezing the thighs. You're going to drop it down and lift it up. Dropping down only as low as you can pull the legs up with the lower abdominals. Again, if you need to come down, that is fine, but just make sure you're not straining in the low back. It's going to be a much smaller movement than if you're here. Last two. And one. Whew. Pull your knees in. Last part of this series. Taking your hands out wide. Take your elbows out wide. Your hands are supporting, they're interlaced and behind the base of the skull. Your thumbs are right down where the skull meets the top of the spine. Pull that right knee in, twist across the body, and glue your left elbow to that right knee. From this point, nothing is moving except the leg. You're going to lift it up and lower it down. Try to tap that heel. You're going to feel an extra engagement of the abdominals if you can get that heel all the way down. Stay glued in this position, twisting through the midline, across the midline of the body. Last two. Last one. And pull that knee in. Let's switch. I'm going to turn my back away from you for a second. So I'm glued. You can see I'm twisting through the midline, but my spine is still straight. Gluing my elbow to the knee. Using the breath. 3 more. And last one. Pull the knees in, head comes down, rocking around the sacrum, just getting that little release. Let your legs come into a tabletop position. Bring your arms out to the sides. Inhale here, and as you exhale, let your legs fall towards the left as you bring your gaze to the right, and just let your hips go. You can take your left hand on top of the thigh if that feels good. Just keep both shoulders down on the mat so you're getting that nice twist, and breathe into the stretch. Take one more deep breath. And on an inhale, let's bring our gaze back to the ceiling. Bring the legs back to center. Inhale here, and as you exhale, let the legs fall down to the right. and bring your gaze to the left. Again, you can take that right hand, put it on top of the knee, just breathing into that stretch. Should feel good. Gaze come back to center. Inhale, the legs come up and rolling to a seated position. Awesome. Let's finish this up with some legs and glutes. So lying on your side. So when you're side lying, you're sort of towards the back edge of your mat here. And you want to be either straight like a pencil, lying down, and you can prop your hand or head up on your hand like this, or you can bring it all the way down, whatever feels most comfortable for you. If you're straight like a pencil, you want to think about ankles, knees, hips, and shoulders are all in a straight line. If you need a little extra stability, just lift both feet up and bring them towards the front bottom corner of your mat. So it gives you a little bit more of a base of support. Whatever works for you, just find yourself in a comfortable position. Get that little mouse hole underneath your waistline so you're not collapsed at the waist. Let your top leg hover over the bottom leg. Top foot is flexed. You're going to kick that leg forward with a little extra kick and then sweep it behind you. Kick, kick, point, and sweep. Kick, kick, point, and sweep. Now as you're doing this, you're thinking about the femur bone is moving in your still pelvis. So you're pulling with the abs, and then as your foot goes back behind you, you're going to feel the glutes kick in a little bit as you send the foot behind. You can play with how far back you can send the legs without tipping the hips back. You really want to keep the hips, again, think about that pull coming down through the pelvis, keeping you in a straight line. Let's do that one more time. Kick and point. Come back to your hover, your toes pointed. You're going to lift the legs straight up and flex as you come down. Lifting up and flexing down. Always thinking about keeping the pelvis straight. So sometimes we kind of want to come all the way in, but then the hips want to tip backward here. And you're probably just going a little too high. You want to keep the leg a little bit lower to keep the pelvis straighter, pulling the belly in. Again, thinking about shortening the distance between belly button and pubic bone will help you find that control. Come back to your hover here, and now little tiny circles. You can maybe brush the bottom foot just barely. Thinking about those even, smooth circles. No wobbly edges. Let's reverse it. Holding here, you're going to outwardly rotate your femur bone in the hip socket so that your toes are pointing more up and your heel is pointed down. So you can see this is a straight thigh, this is outward rotation. And now drag the toe along the inner thigh, extend it up towards the ceiling and reach it down long. Dragging it up, extend, and reach. And again, if you find you're tipping your hips way back to get your knee in more, you're going too far. Don't worry about how far or how long or how high you get the leg. It's about how much you add the movement when you keep the pelvis still. You can challenge the stillness of the pelvis with more movement as the control of the abdominals allows. Let's do one more. And hold. Gluing your legs together, you're going to lift both legs up into the air. Pulling the belly in. Let's just scissor the legs. Just moving the legs nice and slow, using the abdominals to control. 2 more sets. Last set. Squeezing the legs together, holding them in the air, and now little lifts and lower. You're squeezing the legs together, trying to make one leg. Just start to feel the inner thighs a little bit, but you also want to feel the obliques, those side abdominals. Last 2. Last 1. Awesome. Bending the knees. You're going to make 2 perfect right angles out of your legs. So you're going to have your knees completely stacked, and check to see if your top knee is falling behind the bottom knee, your pelvis is tipping backward. So get the knees stacked and your pelvis will be stacked. Float that top leg up in the air so that there's about 2 inches between both knee and ankle. Holding here, pull the belly in, get that little mouse hole so the waist is not collapsed, and now swinging the top leg back and pulling it forward. So you're just taking that right angle and pulling that whole formation back and forward. So if you think about it, the only thing that's really moving here is your femur bone in the hip socket. You're not pulling the heel closer to your glutes. You're just sending that whole formation back. Thigh bone goes back. Thigh bone comes forward. Let's do that one more time. Come back to your hold. Glue your heels together. You're going to lift both feet up off the mat. And now open and close the legs. These are your clams. We're really trying to feel the glutes here. So we're trying to get to a complete exhaustion of the glutes. So the belly's lifted. That's supporting your straight and stable pelvis. The glutes are initiating here to get the movement of the legs. The legs are long. The legs are heavy. You need your big muscles like the glutes and the abs working to get those muscles to move. So that one more time. Open the knees and hold. From here, you're going to extend that top leg, pull the feet back together and close the knees. Open, extend, feet together, knees together. Open, extend, feet together, knees together. Keep going, you've got this. And really resist the urge to kind of fling the leg up. It would feel so good, but we're resisting that, so we're trying to get the glutes really firing here. Last one. Awesome. Both feet come down, close the knees, pound, pound, pound on the hip if you need it. Whew. All right, let's extend that bottom leg. So the top leg is staying where it is. It's just dropped down onto the floor, relaxing over the other leg. Your bottom leg, the right leg, is extending out. Foot is flexed. Lift that leg up off the floor. From here, lift up another inch. This is going to be your starting position. From here, you're going to lift up for 2 and down for 2. Up, 2, down, 2. Good. Keep going. Using the breath. Keep pulling the belly in. Sometimes we kind of want to relax everything. Try to keep everything lifted. Hold your lift. Flex hard, stabilizing that lifted leg. You're using the inner thighs to lift and stabilize. Let's make little circles here. Imagine that sharpened pencil point on your heel, making tiny little circles. Pause and reverse it. If your leg is shaking, you're doing it well. Keep going. Hold here. Just hold, 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 hold. Maybe make the leg a little straighter. Maybe lift it up another inch. You got this. Whew, and let it down. Nice. Let's do all that on the other side, and then we'll stretch it out. All right, so again, on this side, we're doing the same series, but keeping in mind all those same points we talked about before. The hips are stacked. When the hips are stacked, the hip points are in a straight line so that your pelvis is straight and stable. Always thinking about keeping your pelvis completely stable. You can bring your feet a little bit more forward to add to your base of support, which will add to your stability, or you can pull it back so you're straight like a pencil. Whatever gives you the most stability. Float that top leg over the bottom leg, top foot is flexed. Kicking the leg forward with a little extra kick and then sweeping it back. Kick, kick, and sweep. Abs pulling that leg forward. You can feel the glutes start to kick in as you send the leg behind you. Really trying to keep from shoulder to hip completely stable. Awesome. Still using the breath. Let's do 2 more. Keeping the hips nicely stable, keeping that little mouse curve or mouse hole underneath the waist that you're not collapsing in. Come back to your hover. Legs are straight, toes pointed, lift it up and flex it down. Point on the way up, flex on the way down. Again, you can keep your head down or propped up. Whatever helps you and feels most supported. Always think about not collapsing in the waist. Last one. Come back to your hover, toes pointed, little tiny circles. Nice and controlled, somewhat brisk. Kind of think about just barely brushing that bottom foot. Reverse them. Still trying to bring stillness to the pelvis. It's a pretty small movement. And pause. Again, we're going to outwardly rotate the femur bone so that your toes are sort of turned up, your heel is down. You're going to drag that foot along the thigh, extend it up, and reach it down. It's passe. Drag, lift, drag it up, lift, and stretch it down. Trying to make the leg longer as it comes down. Let's do that one more time. Drag it up, and awesome. Lifting both legs up, you're going to hold here. Again, find that little mouse hole so that you're using your obliques, those side abdominals, to hold the legs up. And now we're just going to scissor the legs, just a little swing of the legs. You can make it a little smaller. Maybe just hold it. If you feel any gripping in the hip flexors, you want to just hold your legs, whatever works for you. Last set. Squeezing the legs together, let's lift and lower. And again, if it feels better to have your head down, go ahead and move to that position that you feel most supported. You want to feel your side abdominals. That's this area right here, helping to pull the legs up. Last one, and down. Nice. Let's bend the knees. You're making those two perfect right angles. Knees are stacked, holding here. Let the top leg float over the bottom leg. So again, it's about 2 inches between knee and ankle. You're just going to swing that leg back and pull it forward. Good. So again, you're thinking about what's not moving. Head to shoulders to hip are staying perfectly stable. You're pulling the belly in to keep the pelvis supported, and you're swinging the femur bone in your still pelvis. 2 more. Trying to think about engaging the glutes here, that big meaty muscle on the back of the pelvis. Get those glutes working. Come back to your hover. Glue the ankles together. Now lift the ankles up into the air and then open and close the knees. Still trying to think about getting the glutes activated. Your pelvis is still stacked. No tipping back of the pelvis. A lot of times we get tired, especially on this side. We've already used this side to support. So you have to be a lot more mindful of keeping everything straight and level. Hold the knees open. Extend that leg out. Pull the feet together. Close the knees. It's open. Extend. Feet together, knees together. Open. Extend. Feet together, knees together. Keep going. Whew. These are hard. You should really be feeling the glutes by now. Let's do 2 more. Last one. And close the legs. All right, top leg stays where it is. Pound, pound, pound on the hip or the glutes if you need it. Little release right there. The top leg is relaxed down on the mat. The bottom leg is extended, flexing the foot of the bottom leg. Lift that bottom leg up. Just barely, holding it up here. Up another inch. Feeling the inner thighs engaged. Let's lift up for 2 and down for 2. Nice. Trying to keep that bottom leg straight. Pressing through the heel, using the inner thighs. The inner thighs are lifting the full weight of that long leg. Last 2. Last 1. Hold your lift. Press through the heel. Little circles. Again, going for control. Tiny little circles. Pause and reverse. Trying to keep that flex. Shaking means the muscles are working. Try to keep going. Even when you feel that little shake, it means they're working. Hold your lift. Hold, 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 hold. Maybe make the leg a little bit longer. Lift it a little higher and hold. And release it down. Let's roll on our backs for a stretch. Awesome job. Take a nice deep breath here. Take your right ankle in front of the left knee, opening up that right knee a little bit, and then reaching behind the left thigh. Head comes down, shoulders are down, and just a gentle pull. This is a figure 4 stretch. It's a version of pigeon, if you've done pigeon in yoga. You can flex both feet to get a little bit deeper into that stretch. Keep using the breath, breathing into the stretch. On an inhalation, untangle. Let's do the other side. Left ankle is going to go in front of that right knee, reaching up and then gently pulling behind the right thigh. And just pulling gently. Your head, neck, and shoulders are down on the mat. Breathing into the stretch, flexing both feet will get you a little bit deeper. Maybe trying to open up the knee a little bit. On an inhale, untangle. You're going to roll up to a seated position. Just finding a comfortable place to sit down. Inhale here. And exhale. Thinking about the sit bones staying grounded. Let's use our abdominals. Inhale, the arms go up. And exhale, engaging the abdominals as you come down. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. Whew. Great workout, you guys. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you soon.